My name is Pete, and welcome to my garage. Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to my garage. I'm working on a 2007 Ford Focus, and man, this thing sounds terrible when you start it up. Oh man, everything in this car is just rattling. I mean, from the headliner, everything. Does your car sound like this? If it does, it could be an engine or transmission mount or both that are collapsed. And man, it's loud in here. I gotta talk really loud. Okay, there, that's better. I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but man, it's really loud. And I can only imagine how bad it would be while you're actually driving down the road. So, stay tuned. I'm gonna show you how to fix these engine and transmission mounts. I bought a whole kit. It'll be easy. Stay tuned. These Focuses, or Foci, whatever you want to call it, they're pretty easy to work on. Okay, so I purchased a set of mounts for this car back here. The first mount is the passenger side mount. This goes on the very front of the engine on the passenger side. This is the one that I believe is the culprit that's causing all that vibration. This one over here is the driver's side mount. This actually goes on the top of the transmission. I don't know if that's exactly the one that's causing the problem, but I bought all these as a kit and it was actually pretty affordable on Rock Auto. This is the torque mount or strut mount, whatever we want to call it. It goes on the bottom. So basically the engine is suspended between these two mounts, and then this mount in here keeps the engine from rocking back and forth. So that's how this engine is mounted up there. So you can see, since it's basically suspended from this mount, if this mount collapses, then all the vibrations are going to be absorbed through the chassis of the vehicle. And that's the one that I'm going to do. I'm going to actually replace this mount first and then retry and see if it still rattles real bad inside. I'm going to predict that it actually gets better just from replacing this mount. But while we're in there, we're going to replace all the mounts, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, the mount that's in question here is down under here, underneath this coolant reservoir. So we're going to have to take the 10 millimeter bolt out that's right there in order to get this coolant reservoir out of the way. Once we swing it a little bit out of the way, we can access the bolts for the mount. But we're also, since we're taking the mount and the engine's supported by the mount, we're going to have to support the bottom of the engine, which we can do from underneath with a floor jack. Okay, this is where swivel sockets come in really handy, because you can get in there with a swivel. There we go. That's out of the way. So now we can see our mount here, and this mount is our culprit right there. So we need to support this from the bottom real quick. So we get our trusty floor jack. We're going to put a piece of wood right there so we don't accidentally damage the oil pan. So we're going to put this underneath the oil pan. Then we're going to support the powertrain under the oil pan with this block of wood. We don't really have to lift it up much. We just have to put this under there so it supports it. So when we take the mount loose, the engine doesn't fall down. Okay, now the engine's supported. Okay, these are 18 millimeter and these are 15 millimeter down here. Okay, we can see the engine kind of dropped, so I'm going to raise it back up a little bit to where it's at the right spot. Now the engine's supported, we can remove our 15s. Down there in that one. You don't have to have an impact for this, but it sure makes it easy. We just lift up our mount and it's out. Now just looking at the mount, it's really hard to tell unless you look inside there. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but it is definitely collapsed down in there. But we'll see when we replace just this one if it made any difference.
I'm gonna have to go pick up the kids from school.
What time is it right now?
Huh?
What time is it?
2:45.
So we'll get those bolts started. We'll get these bolts started. All right, so first I'm going to tighten these down and then we'll tighten those 15s down. Because there's a little bit of play in this, but not so much these. Okay, now this mount should pretty much settle down as I remove the tension with the jack. Should be pretty relaxed now. We can tighten it down. Okay, now all I got to do is put this bottle back here for the coolant reservoir, and then we'll double check it and make sure that it went away, and then we'll go ahead and replace the other ones anyway. But I bet that's the one that actually is causing our problem. Make sure we slide this slot over that, push down. Just line up our bolt here. Okay, at this point, the only mount I've replaced is on the passenger side over there. The one that I think is causing most of the problem. But we're going to double check. We're going to start it up and see what happens so we can kind of do them in stages to see how it goes. Here we go, we're start it. Oh, man. Oh. Dude, it's like a new car. Just that one mount probably was all that was wrong. But I'm going to show you how to do the other two because you can get them as a kit on rockauto.com and it's really not very expensive at all. And the other ones have just as many miles on them as that one does. So stay tuned. We're going to fix it too, but it's smooth right now. It's a whole different car. So if you have a Focus that vibrates, check that passenger mount. It is going to be bad. You might not even be able to see it, but it's going to be the problem. Trust me. Go for it. Okay, welcome back. Seeing as how we've already bought the parts, even though this mount over here has pretty much taken 99% of the vibration away, the mount that's under here has the same amount of miles on it as that one does over here. So we're going to go ahead and replace it too since we already have it. First thing we got to do, we got to remove the battery. So we got to take off the battery hold down bolt, undo the battery terminals. Battery comes out, and then I think the battery tray is also going to have to come out, and then we'll have access to the mount. Boy, that's really on there. I'm going to have to do it by hand, I think. Sometimes things don't want to let loose, so you got to use a little penetrating lube. Wow. Sure sounded like something broke, but it just broke loose is all. Yowzers. Wow. I thought I broke something. Okay. Cover comes off. Next we got to remove the battery cables. Always remove the negative battery cable first, which is this one, because if you're doing the negative battery cable and your wrench touches the body of the car, nothing happens. If the negative cable is connected and you use the positive and you touch something metal, sparks will fly. So always do the negative cable first, because if that's disconnected, then the positive cable, if you touch ground, nothing will happen. Negative cable off. Positive cable. Anyways, that was your hot tip for the day. All right, so this battery tray here, it's got a couple of, looks like 13 millimeters holding it in. We'll get it out. Spray a little penetrating lube in there. By the way, if you don't have an electric impact, get one, and swivel sockets. If you do any car work, these things are worth their weight in gold. Second best invention to the wheel. That's a fact. All right, now that that is removed, we can see our mount right here. We have 4 studs on the outside and a big one right there in 18. So just like over here on this side, we're going to have to support the powertrain. So we're going to come underneath the transmission, support it with the jack, so we can remove this mount. We got 21 millimeter right here. Uh-oh, it's wanting to raise. 15 millimeter down here. There's that mount. You can see the stud on the transmission sticking up there. And you can see how this mounts now to this part of the frame. And actually looking at this, it looks pretty worn, but all right, this thing can only go in one way, so that's easy. Got our 21 millimeter. And our couple 15s. It's got a little bit of play there, but that's okay. We'll just let it relax where it wants to sit, nice and even. So we'll tighten down the stud first. And then that should pull, when I release, lower the jack, that should pull this down to where all this kind of settles where it wants to be in a nice neutral position. All right, let's go ahead and put our battery box back in and we're ready to roll. All right, get our cables routed. Got our holes lined up. I am pretty sure that this bolt, this nut that was hanging out right up there, actually goes down here on this stud down there. But it wasn't there right now, but I'm sure it goes there. Now that I've found that. Got all 3 of those nuts on there, the bolt. electric impact. Okay, now we just got to put our battery. All right, battery's in. Positive first. Over to the negative. Make sure they're tight. They are. That one's done. Now we're going to do the one on the very bottom of the car. So we have to jack the car up and support it with jack stands. All right, the last mount in the puzzle is going to be this torque strut mount, whatever they want to call it right here. It's on the bottom of the car, attached to the transmission. I've done these before and had the bolts not like to come out, so I really hope that I don't run into that this time. Looks like we got 13 millimeter there and there, so we'll take those out. Hopefully we can get this out. Crap. It's not good. Alright, that one came out. You can see, these are the mounts that keep the engine from rocking back and forth. And that one's got some wear on it, so hopefully we can get this bolt out. I'm going to have to get a breaker bar to try to get loose. I'm going to hit it with some penetrant too. Hopefully that'll get in there. Okay. Okay, that loosened right up. You can see the corrosion that gets on that bolt. Kind of seizes it in there a little bit. But, see that torque mount? That engine can move quite a bit when it's swinging in there. This mount does a good job of keeping clunks to a minimum. If it's even possible to get out without... Might have to take this bracket off the transmission to get it out. Alright, we're going to try to get these bolts loose here. Ugh. Another one on the top of there. Alright, now that that's loose, once I take that bolt out, I think I can swing this out of the way. All the Ford techs out there are going to be like, you don't have to take that off. Okay, now that that bracket's out of the way, that can come right out. So I'm going to go get the new one. Okay, we're going to slide the new one in. While I'm at it, slide the bracket up. At least get one bolt in there to get it kind of started. Helps line everything up. Get the other one in. All right, now we just got a couple of the bolts. we're good to go now. Hey, welcome back. All right, so I got all 3 of those mounts replaced. Now let's see how it sounds in here. Okay. All right, I'll tell you what, I do still notice a difference between the last 2 mounts. Granted, 99% of it was, I say 99, maybe 95, who knows, was on that right front mount, the passenger side, but it still does make a difference doing those other 2. I can tell this thing is smooth, man. That is one smooth focus. I'm telling you. Hey, if you enjoyed this video or any of my other videos, make sure you hit that subscribe and the like button. I really would appreciate that. If you want to see any more content like this, stay tuned. Ah, crap, I really screwed this up.